Hey guys. Okay, just before you watch this vid, I just want to give you a little advance warning. Oh, wait a minute. Can't we make this a bit more attractive? Okay, nice. But it doesn't really identify me, does it? Okay, nice. But there's something missing. Perfect. Okay, now before you watch this vid, I just want to let you all know I had an absolute nightmare putting this video together because my computer just would not render it properly. So if you come across places where the sound is a little out of sync or the picture quality isn't the best, that's due to the trouble rendering. It's not something I intentionally put in, so, please don't point it out to me. Other than that, I hope you enjoy it. The double act. So many movies and TV shows are built on this. From a critical standpoint, Lethal Weapon is probably seen as the benchmark of the buddy movie. It's two characters, nothing in common, a strong dislike and distrust of each other. Through the film, they'll bond, and by the end of it, end up united and friends. It's an age-old blueprint, and when it works, it can make for a great show. It helps, usually, when the cast click and have a chemistry that bounces off the screen. I love those type of movies. But I've always found myself enjoying the pairings of characters that not only from the get-go don't seem to have a connection, it's knowing that they do hate each other that makes the pairings all the more compelling and interesting to watch. To put it bluntly, it's a double act that works, even though it goes against the blueprint set by the Lethal Weapon films. So welcome to my top 10 list of the most unconventional double acts and pairings. Notice there, I said my list. See? Not Night Star, not Cheech, my list. Thank you very much.
Bond. James Bond.
Grow up, 007.
James Bond and Q. Now anybody who's seen my 5-second movies will know that I'm a huge fan of the Bond movies. Now for you kids out there who've grown up on the new Jason Bourne-esque Bond, you might not even know who Q is. From Q's first appearance in From Russia with Love, and on from there, Bond has had to call on any Q device to get him out of a bind. I think it's safe to say that if it wasn't for Q, Bond would be long time dead, and the world would have been taken over.
Of course!
Many times by now. But think about it from Q's point of view. Here's a guy who spends millions of taxpayers' money and hours upon hours putting together these amazing machines and gadgets, only for Bond to crash, destroy and blow them up in the most spectacular fashion ever. Bond is a ruthless killer, suave and quick thinking. Q is gruff.
I never joke about my work, 007.
And only cares that his machines come back in one piece, which they never do.
Q's not gonna like this.
But if you think about it, the guy should be pissed and hate Bond's guts. And yet, no pun intended, there is a bond between them, with Q even risking his life and career to help Bond when he goes dark in License to Kill. Desmond Llewellyn, the actor who played Q, often said he never had a clue what he was actually talking about when he said his lines, but he always had great chemistry with every actor he worked with. Sadly, Desmond Llewellyn died in a car crash in 1999, leaving behind a huge legacy and a void in the James Bond films that the new Daniel Craig films haven't even attempted to fill. Bond and Q, the complete recipe for License to Thrill.
Whoa, a real live robot! Or is that some kind of cheesy New Year's costume?
Bite my shiny metal ass.
Fry and Bender. Futurama. A truly underappreciated show, filled with funny and interesting characters, but also very complex as well. At the forefront of the characters are Philip J. Fry,
Parents, my co-workers, my girlfriend. I'll never see any of them again. Yahoo!
and Bender Bending Rodriguez.
Why would a robot need to drink?
I don't need to drink. I can quit any time I want.
The pairing of Fry and Bender is one of the true strokes of genius of the show. Fry is an idiot who somehow managed to become his own grandfather when he impregnated his grandmother, and Bender is a violent, abusive, alcohol-fueled robot who drinks, steals, smokes, gambles, and has no problem endangering people to get a fix or sacrificing his own son to make a deal with the devil. You know, he'd make a good politician. He often talks down to Fry, has robbed him, has stolen Fry's blood on more than one occasion, and even has Fry's power of attorney. And yet, despite this, the two characters, together, are just a great double act, and are truly the heart of the show. In Bender's case, despite not having true emotions, Bender has experienced jealousy and hurt over actions by Fry, even going as far as to stop drinking because Fry didn't want to live with him anymore. If I had to pick a favourite moment though between Fry and Bender, it would have to be in the episode Jurassic Park. This is probably one of the most heartbreaking episodes of any TV show or sitcom, and in the episode, Bender dives into a pit of lava to rescue the fossil remains of Fry's dog Seymour. Okay, true, it was Bender who threw the dog into the lava, but it was still his love for Fry that propelled him to go and get the dog back. And it's moments like that that set Fry and Bender apart from their competitors, and truly cements their place on this list. Fry and Bender. Inspiration for idiots and drunks everywhere.
Great Scott.
I know, this is heavy.
Doc Brown and Marty McFly. Now, I love the Back to the Future films, and I don't know of anyone who hasn't seen them. Well, apart from one person, but we'll not bother with... what? What was that?
Hey, yeah, Welsh?
Yes?
Yeah, you're talking about me, aren't you?
Ah, yep.
I am just so sick of people saying how I haven't seen Back to the Future. Like, it's some kind of freaking rite of passage. Like, if I haven't seen Back to the Future, I just haven't seen films. You know, I can't even go a podcast without someone bringing up how Chris hasn't seen Back to the Future. And it's like, no, I haven't seen Back to the Future. And you know what? You can stop grinding on me on the fact that I haven't seen it.
Dude, you know you could always see it.
It's on a list of things to do, but I have more pivotal things to do in my life than go see Back to the Future. Look, I'm a very busy person, so if you'll please excuse me. Make comparison to Sean looking like Rosie O'Donnell. ... Penis and all.
You're writing Sean jokes, aren't you?
It's expected, alright!
Okay. So where was I? Oh yeah, Doc and Marty from Back to the Future. What I loved about the partnership between Doc and Marty was so little of it was explained. We technically never learn how they meet in the present time, or how long they've been friends, unless you base it on the Back to the Future laws, in which case they first met in 1955 when Marty goes back into the past. It sets up a paradox straight away, because in order for Marty to go into the past to meet Doc, he first must have met Doc in the present day in order to obtain the time machine. Yeah, that's just one time problem. Think how it feels to be a fan of Lost. As actors, the two just click together so well, even if nearly everything about them just seems opposite. Marty is short, hip and fiery, while Doc is tall, batty, and clearly operating on a different level from anyone else. The sad thing though, in today's day and age, you probably couldn't have a relationship like Marty and Doc's in film, because people would question the motive behind it. But thankfully, the Doc-Marty relationship hasn't been placed under the same scrutiny that the Harry-Dumbledore relationship has. Doc and Marty, past, present or future, it doesn't matter. They still kick ass.
Number 7.
R2-D2, a pleasure to meet you. I am C-3PO Human Cyborg Relations.
R2-D2 and C-3PO from the Star Wars films. Now I know there's a lot of people out there who put Darth Vader, the Jedis, and even just the lightsaber itself as the symbol of the Star Wars series, but I've always found these two droids to be just as symbolic to the series. Think about it. They're in every Star Wars film and appear in even more spin-offs. And episode 4, apart from its opening scene, features nothing but these two characters for pretty much all of Act 1. And that was a pretty ballsy move on George Lucas's behalf back when he made ballsy moves. No, that doesn't count. I can remember being in the cinema watching episode 1 and feeling a sense of loss when Anakin leaves C-3PO behind. True, it meant we had to suffer the rest of the film with Jar Jar Binks, but it just didn't feel right having R2 and no 3PO. Whereas in some situations it might seem odd that one of the core members of the team can't speak English. In R2's case it actually helps him, because it's Anthony Daniels' body motions and line readings which sell his frustrations at R2. They come across as like an old married couple really, constantly arguing and disagreeing, but like any well-written characters, there's always the little moments that show how much they care for each other. My favourite moment though happens in Empire Strikes Back, and it doesn't even involve the two of them together. Approaching Cloud City, Luke answers R2's question by answering,
No, 3PO's with them.
Now this was a line in a scene really that didn't need to be in the film, and it really didn't help the story in the long run, but just having it there shows R2's concern for his friend. You could say R2's probably the smarter of the two, and you'd be right. After all, he is smart enough to know when to run away.
You stupid little tramp! You're so boring! I hate you! Ow! Ow! Ow!
Number 6.
What was that film where they ate each other?
Deep Throat, wasn't it?
Richard and Edward Elizabeth Hitler. Oh, Richie and Eddie. If you're a fan of slapstick violence, you'd love this show. Living together as flatmates, Richie, friendless, dateless, 30-year-old virgin who desperately yearns for sex, shows occasional flashes of homosexuality, and is completely insane. And Eddie, a jobless, alcoholic, barbaric brute who slept with the only girlfriend Richie ever had.
'Cause you've only ever had one, bird, and I shagged her.
And if he can't drink alcohol, he'll drink anything with a kick to it.
There's a sale on at the chemist's.
What
do you mean? Old Spice? 25p a bottle.
Being forced to live together, the two of them plot, scheme and fight their way through life, usually against each other. And while they clearly hate each other, it's the dependency they have on each other that ensures they remain alive. Eddie gives Richie someone to look after, and Richie, being so desperately lonely and friendless, is able to view Eddie as a friend. Now, while you couldn't call these guys lovable, there is something distinctly English about them. Notice I said English, not British.
Excuse me. Not all English people are like that.
Silence, English boy!
We're really not, you know.
Right, that's it.
Well, that was a little excessive.
Unlike a lot of shows, heartfelt moments were never ever going to happen. It's the dynamic between them and the fact that they hate each other that makes it work. My favourite moment between the two of them is during an evening of culture and sophistication. After a game of chess, which Richie takes nearly 12 hours to make his first move, Eddie soundly defeats him, and the two engage in one of their greatest battles ever. Tom and Jerry, this ain't.
I helped save the world, you know.
Like I haven't.
Yeah, but I've done it a lot more.
Oh, please.
Spike and Angel, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. These are two of not only the most complex, but also two of the most interesting characters in modern TV history. And unlike some unnamed piece of fanfic crap, they are actually vampires, and not Christmas fairies. Thank you very much. They also both have the distinction of being able to play both the hero and the villain through their appearances in both shows. And that's an achievement in itself. The dynamic between them is almost paralleled in every single way. They're both vampires, both have souls, both been in love with the same woman, and both have stalked the same woman they love. And yes, again, when they stalk this woman, it is scary and wrong, not romantic and alluring. Despite having spent many years together though, and their lives running parallel for so much of that, their personalities couldn't be any more different. Angel is brooding, quiet and reclusive, whereas Spike is brash, loud and just loves violence.
I understand. I have a nephew who's gay.
I mean, even the way they went about getting their souls is opposite. Angel's soul was forced on him, cursed with it for having killed a gypsy girl, whereas Spike fought for his for love, in an attempt to become the man Buffy deserved. In terms of characters though, the interaction between them was some of the most fun and interesting parts of Angel Season 5. It was the first time they were both on the side of good. It was also the first time the story really revolved around them and their relationship together. David Boreanaz and James Masters were always great playing off each other, and they always came across like brothers or even a stranger father and son. What was great about them together though is that they were family. They would argue, they'd snipe at each other, but if anyone ever threatened the family, they would put aside their grudges and work together as a team. Angel Season 5's A Hole in the World probably being the best example of this. Sadly, with the show now over and living on in comic form, there's only one thing I'd really ask for. A crossover, where Angelus is released and meets Edward, so he can kick and kill that Christmas fairy's arse. He is not a vampire.
Quickly, to the Angel Mobile. Away!
Fucking bored, man. Boredom's the first step on the road to relapse.
Jay and Silent Bob, from The View, a Universe. My god. Talk about opposites. One says hardly anything, and when he does, it's usually informative and almost sage-like. The other one never shuts up, usually laced with profanity, and doesn't seem to have a thought in his head that doesn't involve sex or drugs.
I am the master of the clip!
Now, I'll be the first to admit, I'm not a huge Kevin Smith fan, but no one can deny the breakout factor of these two characters. They were everywhere at one point. Films, television, cartoons, comics, music videos, and they were even referenced in The Simpsons. After their first appearance in Clerks, their roles became progressively larger, even getting their own cameo in Scream 3, and then went on to star in their own movie itself, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. This was undoubtedly a thank you from Smith to the fans who'd stayed with him, and a goodbye to the View Universe, to which he would never return. Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back was the very definition of an in-joke movie, but it also offered some insight and background into the friendship of Jay and Bob's. They're basically drug dealers and out-and-out lawbreakers, but they managed to walk that fine line of being on the wrong side of the law and doing something completely illegal, yet together they're so funny it just seems to work. These two just wouldn't work apart. Jay without Bob would be completely unlikable, and Bob without Jay would lose all of his character, because it's Bob's reactions to Jay that make Bob what he is. If I had to pick a favourite moment between the two of them though, it would have to be in Dogma, after Jay is punched by Matt Damon's Loki. It's at this point you see Bob not only get legitimately angry, there's also one of the few, maybe only times that you see Bob defend it. What this sequence is basically saying is that Bob will put up with Jay's insanity, his name calling, his swearing, and his all-round narrow-mindedness, but just woe betide anyone who puts their hands on him, even if sometimes Jay can get Bob a bit mad.
The sign on the back of the car said Critters of Hollywood! You dumb fuck!
Did I say a bit mad? Wallace and Gromit from Oddman Animation. Okay, now I know it's a bit of a cliche to put a human-animal double act on here. I mean, I could have put Lassie and Joe, or even Skippy and Sonny, or maybe even Walt and Vincent. Maybe not, but the major differences between these characters and Wallace and Gromit, aside from this being my list, is that Gromit can kick all these other animals' asses. Yeah, even Flipper. And Gromit's made of plasticine. That's how awesome he is. Their pairing could initially be seen as just a normal man-dog team. Wallace is the wacky inventor who comes up with the ideas and schemes.
Just a bit of harmless brain alteration, that's all.
And Gromit is faithful companion, loyal and fearlessly protective to his master. The twist? Gromit is smarter than Wallace, and is always cast as the hero of the piece, with Wallace almost coming across like the bumbling sidekick. Every Wallace and Gromit short, and even the feature, are basically all told from Gromit's point of view, and the true genius of Gromit's character and performance is everything is visual. He doesn't speak, and has a very limited range of facial expressions. I mean, his mouth never opens, and yet we're always 100% aware of what he's feeling and what he's trying to communicate, and it's all done through his eyes and his gestures. Now I say we're always aware, but of course Wallace never is, and this just makes you warm even more to Gromit, and almost puts you in the position of wondering why he puts up with Wallace. But Wallace, despite this dottiness, and sometimes complete pig-headedness in regards to Gromit's feelings, does show the same amount of love and protection for him. They're best friends, and they do love each other. The feature film The Curse of the Were-Rabbit perhaps going the furthest to establish this, with Gromit destroying his prize marrow in order to save Wallace's life, and Wallace sacrificing his own safety to save Gromit's life. Wallace and Gromit. They may just be one man and his dog, but they make a cracking duo. Jeez, Gromit!
Never start with the head. The victim gets all fuzzy.
Batman and the Joker from the DC Universe. Now I know everyone has their favourite comic hero-villain duo, and these two are mine. And before people get on their high horses and say, "He's only saying this because of the Dark Knight," I kindly say to those people, and that I felt this way since I read my first Batman comic, which I read before the release of the first Tim Burton movie back in 1989. Yep, I'm that old. They're not only the perfect antagonist-protagonist duo, but they're just as fascinating to analyse. They seem like they're polar opposites. But what I love about these two characters is that if you whittle them down, you actually find out that they're not too dissimilar. But based on how they look, it's how they go against the norm of what their personas, symbolise. Symbolism! Alright, but they do go against that. Light is usually symbolised as good, and dark as evil. And here you have Batman fighting for good, yet covered in darkness, and the Joker, who is evil personified, but is the complete opposite of Batman, as he doesn't hide in the shadows. Now, based on that, I know people will argue that Peter Parker and Harry Osborn from the Spider-Man series could have been a better fit, based on their history and their friendship, which makes the whole thing a lot more intense. And to that I say, my list. Deal with it. Now I know technically they're not a double act, but like other pairings on this list, they are a duo, and one really couldn't exist without the other. The Joker needs Batman. He stated numerous times that without him, he wouldn't have a need to exist. The only way for the Joker to ever truly defeat Batman would be for Batman to kill him, and we all know that's something Batman will never do. Oh, that doesn't count. And Batman needs the Joker, because he needs someone to constantly test him, because no one can get inside Batman's head like the clown. But ultimately, it's always his refusal to kill that allows the Joker to try again, which just means they get to dance the same dance another day. And me, I never get bored with that. My favourite moment between the two of them, though, is without doubt the moment from The Killing Joke, where Batman and the Joker come together at the end of the comic, and Joker tells Batman a joke, which results in them both laughing hysterically by the end of it, showing that they're actually a lot similar than probably even Batman would rather admit. Symbolism! Damn it! And it's recap time, just to prolong the inevitable. In 10th place, James Bond and Q. In 9th place, Fry and Bender. And in 8th place, Doc Brown and Marty. In 7th, R2-D2 and C-3PO. In 6th, Richie and Eddie. In 5th, Spike and Angel. In 4th, Jay and Silent Bob. In 3rd, Wallace and Gromit. And in 2nd, Batman and the Joker. Itchy and Scratchy, the original cat and mouse duo. Yeah, only joking, it's Tom and Jerry. What can you say about these characters that hasn't been said 1,000 times before? They're icons of animation, and disregarding the travesty that was the movie, Tom and Jerry are the kings of slapstick violence. And if you remember back to Rank 6 where I said, Tom and Jerry, this ain't. This decision probably won't be coming as too much of a surprise. But beneath all their fighting, there exists a huge heart. These are two characters that were made for each other, and simply couldn't exist alone. Characters like Sylvester and Tweety or even Wile E. Coyote have managed to branch out into their own cartoons. But in regards to Tom and Jerry, I don't think anyone would accept Tom without Jerry. My favourite shorts with Tom and Jerry always involved them combining their efforts to take on a bigger foe. Kinda like the Welsh and the English really. But just like the mouse and Jerry, the little guy will always come out.
What? I had nothing to do with that.
We two were friends to the end. Ain't we, my friend?